So here's the next one we're going to work on. It's one of these 20-inch MTDs that has the off-brand overhead valve engine on it. I don't have any parts for these engines, and I need an air filter cover, and I need a primer bulb for it, and I think it also needs carburetor work. So since I don't have any parts for it, I am not really going to worry about, as of right now, fixing this engine. I'll keep it around the house though. If for some reason I get another one in that needs parts or is blown up, I can always use the parts off of it. So for right now though, this one is going to come off of this deck, since this deck is fine. And it's in pretty good shape here. I just need to sharpen the blade as always. A little bit of rust under the deck, not too bad. But yeah, so that's all I got to do to this one. Yeah, I've got a bunch of those pressure washers under the house. I've got quite a few that don't have hoses and stuff, and that haven't run in a little while. And so I'm just taking some of those and I'm putting the engines on the push mowers, because that's just the easier thing to do. And just getting cleaning out some stuff and kind of doing the quick fix, even though, you know, pressure washers bring a little bit more money. I'm running the risk of, you know, the pumps being bad and stuff like that. So it's always the better option to just throw it on a mower deck and let it roll. So that's what I'll do next. To get this engine off, I just take this 7/16 nut off to get the pull rope so that it's disconnected from the handle. Turn the mower over and onto its side here, and take off my 5/8 inch bolt that holds on the blade, 3 1/2 inch bolts that holds on the deck, or that holds on the engine to the deck, and the engine comes off and we put the new engine on. So that'll be next. So I've got the engine off. As you can see, I was sitting over there. I couldn't quite get the blade adapter off because it's rusted on there pretty good. I've got a bunch of those, so I'm not going to even go through the toil and trouble trying to get it off right now, since I, you know, might need it or might use it on a different application at some point. And then here's another one of the pressure washers. This is like one of the smallest pressure washer frames I've ever seen. A 4 horsepower Briggs and Stratton on it. So it's in a good shape overall, or the engine at least is. And I'll work on the switch there to make sure that it works. Might have to, looks like I'm gonna have to clean out the tank. That's no big deal. But this is a really, really small pressure washer. It's only 1500 psi. Coleman PowerMate. Wow. So, but as y'all can see, it hasn't been running a really long time. The pump looks pretty rusted there. We're gonna take the pump off just like we did the other one, and throw it on the push mower here. So we'll be doing that next. So I think the pump that came off of this thing was bigger than the frame. As you can see, I've got the frame broken down. I'm gonna put it in my scrap pile for my scrap folks to pick up. And got the deck ready, got the engine ready. I just took a rubber mallet and beat the pump off because I knew I wasn't gonna be reusing it. And rubber mallet is much better than a hammer because you don't break things off with a rubber mallet most of the time. Engine looks good. I know I've got to get inside the gas tank and carburetor and stuff, because it's pretty well used, pretty gummed up. So probably go ahead and throw a diaphragm on it as well, because this, as you all can see, the primer bulb won't even return because the carburetor's so gummed up. I've got to tighten up the engine cover a little bit. I don't even know what the oil looks like in here. There we go. Alright. I had to change the oil in it. No big deal. But I'll throw that back on there for right now, and we'll get started. First off, I'll start off by putting the engine onto this frame, and I've got the three mounting bolts over here, and it looks like I'm going to have to use the nuts that went along with it, because it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to doesn't look like there's threads in this engine, so it's no big deal either. But yeah, so that'll be next. Shouldn't take too long to do, so let's get started. So the engine is on. We can work on the gas tank next. I'm sure this thing's going to be in pretty bad shape, but we'll put it on there and see what we can do. Five screws take that diaphragm off, and then it was actually a 3/8 inch bolt that kept it on, and you also have another 3/8 inch that goes right here. But yeah, so we'll tackle that next. So washed out the gas tank, in the process of putting a new carburetor on it, or excuse me, a diaphragm on it. Put a new primer bulb on it as well. The primer bulb was shot, so it was all rubberized and gummed up and all that good stuff. So putting the carburetor on now, which I can't seem to do well with one hand. There we go. Put the 5 screws on. We'll get this thing bolted back onto the engine and see if we can get this thing to run. So everything's on it, good to go. It's got the switch in the front like the other one did to turn it off. So you have that. You got the blade sharpened. It looks to be good. And since I have the switch here, I didn't need the safety cable. I'll put it on a future lawnmower that may need one. And you know, the pull rope, since it's a pressure washer, isn't all that long, so I'm gonna keep it down to the handle. But yeah, we'll see what we got here with this MTD push mower, and I'll put gas in it and see if we can get it to run for us. So it's now time to test this thing out. Got everything on, including the primer bulb, put some gas in it. This engine, it says, is made around 1996. So this is an older pressure washer. I don't think Coleman makes pressure washers anymore. So I took the shroud off of the exhaust as well. They come on the pressure washers. Come on a lot of pressure washers, but it's not really needed on a lawnmower. And they just loose, or they can get loose and rattle. So trying to cut down on the rattle factor. But yeah, the mower looks good. So got everything tightened, and see what this thing will do here. minutes. We'll come back in a few minutes and see how everything's looking. So the smoke cleared up, it's running good now. Turn it off just like that. So we're gonna let it cool down. I'll change the oil in it and clean it up. Give it a final start. So the mower's clean now. It cleaned up really well. It's only a few years old anyway, so it should clean up decently. But y'all know that one, that was similar to this one that I got kind of earlier on in the season. That was a 2011. That was in terrible shape. So everything seems to be good on it. Give it a few primes here and we'll start it up. Sputter it off. That's probably got a little bit of oil in the I put a little bit of water in the plug, but no big deal. Sometimes I even make mistakes. Forgot to screw the plug in all the way. So I'll screw that in all the way and we'll start it back up. So I got to thinking, I don't think I'm crazy. I don't think I ever had that spark plug off of this engine. I think it was just loose to start with, and finally loosened itself up enough to not run. So let's try this again. Better. So now we're running good. Pretty smooth. Needed a little love, like they all do. So everything's good on it. Happy with how this one turned out. I mean, I could have tried to hunt down the parts and stuff for that other engine, but I would have taken some time, and then, you know, not sure how the carburetor and stuff is inside, and not really knowing a lot about those engines. I just figured since I got some spare ones here to let them all, or, you know, just put one on this deck. A quick, easy fix with a reliable Briggs, and should be a good mower for somebody. So probably got right now about 8 or 9 more ready to go, or ready to fix. 3 of them be carburetors. I've got carburetors on the way because they're so cheap. I mean, I would have having trouble with various issues with them, so I figured for 10 bucks a piece, replace them and get them on the road and get them out of here, because I got to get stuff moving. That's 3 of the 9, and then there's about 5 or 6 I haven't even looked into yet, so a lot more videos coming. But for now, we got a good basic push mower with a